Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always, my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, it's transfer rumour season. The grind doesn't stop. We're here with more updates, information, scouting, news, rumours. You guys know the drill by now. If it's been reported, Dan and I are going to speak about it. Bumper packed episode today, mate. It is absolutely filled to the brim with transfer action. And boy, I'm excited. I'm excited to get into this one, man.
You know what this episode, right, is like every now and again we get a transfer rumor that is so packed, we brand it as a transfer roundup. And
Yeah,
this is so close to transfer roundup territory, mate. We don't get paid enough for how hard we work. Nah, mate, I'm
absolutely.
buzzing. It's so much better when we're talking about such fun players. It's so great. Like, when a couple of years ago in the January window, we were looking for some stats on Danny Drinkwater and Ali Samata and Borja Baston. That really, I think you've got to sort of consider yourself lucky that we get to talk about like a couple of super fun players here. And then another link which sort of bubbled to the surface in the last 24 hours. So yes, mate, I'm good. We already know how much we love these episodes, and so when we get like three in one, that's rare, mate.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you know what? I'm ripping up the script, mate. We decided how we were going to do this. We may as well start with the quickest one, the one that we spoke about before we came on air. And just as a preface to this one, apparently Weston McKennie has rejected an approach from Aston Villa, and is reportedly holding out for Spurs and Chelsea to make a bid for him. All I'll say on that one is good luck, mate. Maybe
Yeah.
Chelsea will because they're buying everybody and anyone. And it looks like Chelsea are trying to get all of their business done before maybe there is another transfer ban for the amount of money that they're spending. And before people are in the comments, I know exactly how amortization works. Don't you worry. But they're still spending way too much. But mate, this leads us on very nicely to a very interesting rumor, mate. Um, as a replacement for Weston McKennie.
Blimey. Um, it's always interesting when you get these stories, right? Where it's like, oh, he's a replacement for this player because X club couldn't get him, and it's like two completely different profiles. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's like you're like, oh, okay. It's like being like, oh yeah, Villa couldn't get a Peter Crouch, so they're going to go back in for like a Michael Owen, and you sort of think, wait, what? But that's what we're doing. Azedine Unahi, who is everybody's flavour of the month after the World Cup, he had a standout tournament, didn't he, in Morocco? This wonderful, flowing, elegant number 8 that sort of stole everybody's hearts as they powered to the semi-finals of the World Cup. Him and Amrabat were the stars of the show, really, for that Moroccan side. I think Amrabat actually got a few more plaudits, but it is Unai that's been linked to Aston Villa. It's come from an Italian journalist. I can't say I'm too familiar with him or how reliable he is. I'd love to be able to vouch for him, Villa fans, but I can't, unfortunately. Ciro Venerato said that the president of Angers, who is the French club that Unai plays for, left for England yesterday, and that it seems, which seems to be an operative word there, seems that he is talking to Aston Villa, who, as you say, received a note from Weston McKennie. And that's all we've had on this so far. And I should make it clear that obviously, as happens always when a player has a really good World Cup, they are linked to every man and his dog in the following window. I mean, I said, you know, listeners of the Villa Fella will remember that after the Leeds pod, I was like, oh, it looks like they're about to sign Azedine Unahi. So I'm glad, we played them now. And it looks like he was going to go there. I remember Fabrizio was talking about that move. He's been linked to Napoli as well. I saw that was almost a done deal. I put egg on my face. I even tweeted about that because I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
Unahi with Kvaratskhelia and all those guys would be amazing. He's been linked to AC Milan and now it's come full circle and now he's back at Villa. And so we don't know. We just thought we'd give it a little bit of airtime. But hell, mate, I'd be all for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking at the numbers, just very, very briefly, within the top 1 percentile for dribbles completed, in midfielders over the past year, touches in the attacking penalty area, top 7 percentile, and top 4 percentile for progressive passes received. Absolutely exciting. You guys would have seen him at the World Cup and know what he's all about. And briefly, just as well, before we move on to the sort of the main crux of this, Boubacar Kamara and Amrabat, Sofian Amrabat, they're both very similar players. So you can see where and how this could work on the pitch, right? And as well, interestingly, FBref actually have him down as the most similar player statistically is the one and only Matteo Guendouzi, who's a player that we've spoke about a lot in recent episodes on the channel. So maybe, because it kind of looks like Guendouzi may not happen, or at least in January. There have been reports saying Guendouzi has apparently turned down a move. But I think, I don't know, maybe that's one for the summer. Maybe that's something that we'll revisit. But I can't help but feel like Guendouzi is a player that Villa needs to bring in. So it'll be interesting to see if we actually get Onana through the door, mate, as well. Two very similar players. But another one that which seems to be moving on a fair bit, mate, with a bit of speed is Gerard Deulofeu, 28 years old. Everybody remembers this guy from his time at Everton and Watford. I think some people forget this is a graduate of La Masia. He was a Barcelona player. He knows how to play football. He knows how to play the beautiful game, the Barcelona way, which is the only way to play football. And he's an interesting one because he's almost had to reinvent himself a couple of times, even during his time at Watford and Everton, and especially at Udinese. He's shown how incredibly capable he is of, I don't want to say being a utility player, because that sometimes has negative connotations, not that it should, but he can play on the left, he can play down the middle, played on the right, has even operated on a very few occasions as an 8. And they're saying that a 17 million euro bid has been launched, and that apparently Deulofeu didn't play for Udinese on the weekend ahead of preparing for a move to Aston Villa, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, big outlet, obviously, in Italy. I think I don't think we spoke about this on the channel. I can't remember. And if we definitely didn't dedicate an episode to it. We may have spoken about it off the cuff. It wasn't one that particularly excites me, but as will be the theme throughout the whole month, until Unai Emery gives me a reason not to trust him, he has my full trust, mate. Gerard Deulofeu, you want him 17 million euros, that's about 13 million pounds. There's not very many Premier League proven, international, Champions League playing, La Liga winning midfielders, forwards, however you want to view him, that are available for 13 million pounds. So all round, this seems like it makes sense. And I can understand, last week it was, we're signing Alex Moreno, we're doing this, we're doing that. Where's the resale value? And then all of a sudden we go and sign John Duran, and it's, oh my God, I've never heard of this guy. He can't be good. He's not going to play. Well, there's going to be no resale value for him because he's going to be crap. And then now we're back to, there's no resale value. Which is obviously, it's not obviously it is a fact that will be little to no resale value, but that's not what we're looking for, because we're looking for players who Unai can bring in and trust from day dot. And I can't help but feel like Gerard Deulofeu for that price is a steal.
Yeah, man. I think we've got to really rethink the way we look at football transfers now and consider that resale value is, if you're getting a deal done for under 20 million, I almost think that's, I think I said this recently, that's almost like the £5 million deals of the past. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, that's going to be your pittance, your bargains, as you say, mate. And Gerard Deulofeu has had some career, man. I've got to be honest, when I was doing some digging, I was like, oh my God, yeah, he played for AC Milan and Sevilla and Everton. And I completely forgot that these moves happened, but they did. Obviously, he's best known probably in England for his time at Watford. And again, I completely undervalued just how good he was for them. In 2018-19, 10 goals and 5 assists, which for Watford, mate, to get 15 goal contributions in 30 games is pretty amazing. And he scored that glorious goal. Was it an FA Cup semi-final? Do you remember that score? He was on the edge of the box and he sort of scoops it.
Was it against Palace?
It was against Wolves. Wolves.
Yeah,
but yes, you're right in saying it was a niche team. It was against Wolves. So there's one reason to love in Villa fans. And yeah, that's 10 goals, 5 assists is pretty crazy. And then he's obviously left for Italy, reinvented himself as this sort of central player that plays as the 10. He wears the number 10 shirt for Udinese, who have been a real joy to watch at points in Serie A and actually led the race for the title in early parts of this season and last. And again, he's had this season, 2 goals, 6 assists in 15 matches, so 8 goal contributions in 15 games. That's more than a goal contribution every other. And then last season, 13 goals and 5 assists from the 10 position for Udinese. the numbers are great. Obviously, I look back and, even for like Barcelona, he was a bit part there, but still has Champions League appearance, Copa del Rey, like titles. He got a goal and assist under his belt in 17-18, despite playing about 4 minutes across the course of the season. He's capped for Spain, only once, but he's capped. I think the more that you read into this and the more that you look at what the numbers he's been putting up, they've gone so under the radar, and that's why this fee is so great, I think.
Absolutely, mate. And what's even more exciting about it as well is I think is the underlying numbers as well. And like, firstly, like Serie A, don't sleep on it. It's gotten better in recent years, and we've seen so many players over the past few years who have been linked with big moves. Victor Osimhen being one, Manchester United looking to spend £100 million on him every summer, apparently. Liverpool as well. Obviously, Cravadonna as well, as he's been dubbed as well in his counterpart in Napoli. Also, another player who's been linked to a massive move. But he's averaging 6.6 touches in the attacking penalty area per 90, puts him within the top 8 percentile. He is receiving 4.92 progressive passes per 90, puts him again in the top 1 percentile there. He's creating 5.77 shot creating actions per 90, top 1 percentile of all forwards over the past 365 days. It's crazy. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and I can't believe we're going to get this guy so cheap. He's attempting around 40 passes per game, puts him in the top 5 percentile of forwards. That tells you that he's looking to bring other people into the game. For those shot creating actions as well, the numbers are absolutely off the charts, mate. He's averaging 1.49 dribbles per 90, which puts him in the top 9 percentile. And again, what's interesting to look at the players that FBref compare him to numbers wise. Joao Felix, a player who's been linked. Roberto Firmino. I mean, we can ignore the Mbappe and Benzema comparisons on there as well. But what it tells me is this is a player. I think wingers who sort of try to become centre forwards, it doesn't always work, and it's a difficult transition. But I think having the opportunity to do that in, again, I've just said Serie A's got better, but it is still a weaker league than the Premier League. Having more time and space to sort of learn the positional responsibilities of a centre forward, with the sort of the deftness of being a winger and that sort of agility and balance and skill that is required to play that position. He could be the perfect option to sort of bring in, and he'd be a really good foil for maybe not a Duran, but sort of where there's a focal point, you play a Deulofeu off them as that sort of second striker or the sort of the wider player of that pair in Unai Emery's system. And I think it works really well. So it's one that I'm really excited about, mate. I'm really excited. I see we've only got 6 minutes left on the Zoom. So let's speak about another really exciting transfer, Ruben Mill player here, mate. It's only come out the past sort of couple of hours. Aston Villa have been looking at Real Betis's Luiz Henrique. This is a player who I know, Dan, you're excited about. He not long joined Real Betis from the Brazilian league, and the fact that we're interested this early, when I think it's probably fair to say he's still not quite proven what he's capable of in La Liga. I guess it speaks volumes about the potential that's there and the ceiling that this guy has.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. This is a really interesting one because he only moved, as you say, mate, in the summer from Fluminense, moved for about 8 million euros pittance, really. And he's played well. He's played well. He's copped up a goal and an assist in La Liga, 2 goals, 2 assists in the Europa League, 2 assists in the Supercopa. And so he's put up some good numbers. He's still very raw. He's one of those quite languid wingers that, we've all season, they'll run down the touchline and they'll sort of try a skill and they'll sort of sometimes leave the ball behind a little bit. He's a very raw talent, especially when he's on the ball, but he has got real nous playing on both left and right sides for goal and in that final third. He's only 22 years old. I would be very surprised if Betis let him go this early. And if they do, I think it's really interesting to see what kind of price it's going to take to get him out of there after just 6 months. But, there's been plenty of other clubs sniffing around. But as I say, mate, with, top clubs interested, apparently, it's he signed on a 5-year deal, even maybe even a 6-year. So he's on contract until 2028. And so to get him out of that after just 6 months, and he's a very important player for Betis, plays for Brazil's under 20 side. Oh, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's funny you say about how sort of raw he is, and because sort of looking at them as someone who hasn't seen as much of him as you, Dan. Um, Looking at the numbers defensively, absolutely fantastic, mate. Averaging 2.65 tackles per 90. That's top 1 percentile of attacking midfielders. 0.77 interceptions per 90. 1.46 blocks per 90. He's winning just over one aerial per 90 as well. All of these really fantastic, all in the green in terms of attacking midfielders and wingers over the past year on FB Ref. But the other stats, they're not quite adding up. And I think what that tells me, and exactly what you've said, mate, that this is a player who probably lacks the confidence and is certainly somebody who feels a lot more comfortable out of possession of the ball, which I think is probably fair to say. And
Yes,
obviously that
yes.
confidence kind of comes with more game time and more time to develop. So maybe we're too premature with this. Maybe this is something that happens in a year or two's time. But then, can you afford him in that time? That is another question. But again, it's exciting to be linked to another Brazilian, mate. It's a complete coincidence that I'm wearing a Brazil shirt right now.
I was gonna
It's
say.
a, it's a complete coincidence. I promise, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We've all heard it,
yeah,
mate. Yeah, yeah. Well,
I've
just
got I've
got
got
to
his name
flex.
printed on the back already.
Got to...
It's happening, mate. I've got him on the back of his third shirt right here. But it's interesting. We've recently done business with Real Betis, obviously to bring
Yeah,
Alex Moreno
of
in.
course.
And he's a player who we know is incredibly attacking. So it's interesting to see. Maybe I'm not as well versed in Betis as some others, maybe, mate. But maybe there's a bit more of a sort of elbow on that right hand side with how we know Moreno plays. But it's an interesting one, and as you say, mate, it probably would take a lot to get him out, but if you can get him and develop him, maybe send him back on loan to Betis, because obviously he's playing in European football there as well, which is obviously going to be really beneficial for him. Um, then maybe this is an interesting one.
Yep.
Yeah, I like get it done, Villa. Why not? Why not? Let's sign another young Brazilian. Let's have it. Come on. We've got to have more Brazilians that work out than don't. I mean, Wesley's a write off. Um, who else? Coutinho, jury's out on that one. But yeah,
Mm,
hopefully this happens, mate.
indeed, indeed.
But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this transfer rumor episode, let us know by hitting a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. If you aren't aware as well, which like you should be at this point, we're on TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, it's at Heart of the Holte, and on Instagram, it's at Villa Pod. Please follow us on there. You're gonna get clips. You're gonna get extras as well, like when things happen and we can't do a podcast, but we can do a quick TikTok. Dan and I will do that. So yeah, make sure you follow us on there. If you listen on Apple and Spotify, leave a 5-star review. That helps us out a lot.
Yes,
And yeah,
indeed.
up the Villa.